Hello my friends, so welcome to this episode of Wicca 2.0. So in this episode I'm going to show you the way that I make a sigil. Now these are not at all the only ways to make sigils. There are many different ways to make a sigil, and you can really be quite creative with it and create new ways of making sigils. But this is just a couple of examples to get you going and kind of give you an idea of how to create sigils. Sigils such as these. So, I hope you enjoy. Now the first thing that we want to do is understand exactly what a sigil is. So let's compare a sigil to a symbol or a character. A sigil is inscribed or painted symbol considered to have magical powers. A seal, a sign, or a symbol. A symbol is a thing that represents or stands for something else, especially a material object representing something abstract. A character is something that is inscribed or engraved. For a sigil, for a good sigil, we want to think of something in a single word. A sigil works well to represent a name or a single word or a thought, as opposed to a talisman. And if you've seen my other video on talismans, you can create a thought or a rather abstract thought and then kind of break it down to a smaller component, but still it kind of holds more than just a single thought. For a sigil, it's a good thing to have one word and not a word that can be ambiguous, that can be have different meanings. You want to have a word that has a very clear, defined meaning. So for this particular example, throughout all these examples that I'm going to give you, I'm going to use the word sigil for our example. So the first method of creating a sigil is the rose method. Again, from my other video on talisman magic, I showed you how to create a sigil based upon this rose pattern. And you can also download this from my website as a blank sheet. So we're going to be using this rose diagram to create a sigil representing the word sigil. So we're going to start out at the S. We're going to move up to I, up again to G, back down to I, just slightly off center of the first I, and then over from I to L. And we begin the sigil character with a small circle at the end of the point and ending it at a T point or a line. So this gives us a nice sigil that we can use. The next method is the alphabet method. Now this method can be based on Latin characters, Greek characters, Hebrew characters, or whatever characters you like to do. So the Greek method, again using the example of the word sigil, we're going to convert this over to Greek characters. So the S becomes sigma, I becomes iota, G becomes gamma, I again becomes iota, and L becomes lambda. Now looking at the Greek characters, we can eliminate one of the I's because we already have that shape. So we're actually looking at the characters as shapes at this point. So that leaves us with sigma, 1 iota, gamma, and lambda. Now the I in iota and the gamma look similar, so we can eliminate that other I. So we are left with sigma, gamma, lambda. And I've already converted it to a shape that I like,
but you can basically create any shape that you like.
The next method is the Theban circle. So we do it for the Theban method the same way. What we do is we take the word sigil, again this is just the example word, and we translate it to Theban. Again, the eyes, we have duplicate eyes which also look very similar to the G, so we're going to get rid of those. We're going to use the S, the G, and the L. And then what we do is we put it on a circular pattern so that the three characters are touching bottom to bottom, and this makes a circular pattern. So this next method of creating sigils happens to be my favorite, but it's also one of the most difficult to describe. So I'm going to do my best to describe it and also show you how it's done, and hopefully being able to visualize and seeing how it is done is going to be a much better explanation than I can verbalize to explain how this is done. So this next method is called the 9 chambers method. So the grid for this figuring out these sigils sort of looks like tic-tac-toe markings. It consists of 3 lines of 3 incomplete boxes. So it creates 9 chambers. Within each box are assigned certain letters. Now these letters correspond, these are the Latin characters for the Hebrew characters. Originally, Kabbalists used this using the Hebrew characters. The very top row were considered to be the intellectual characters and also represented single numbers. The middle row is the celestial characters and also correspond to tens. The last row represents the inferior or 100ths. And within each box were 3 characters. So we have 3 times 9 making up the 27 characters of the Hebrew alphabet. So this has been altered and changed to accommodate the Latin characters. So you will notice some rows have only 2 characters, some rows have 6 characters. These are to represent the various sounds that translate to English, because there is no direct translation of Hebrew characters to Latin characters. So using the shapes that these incomplete boxes create give us 9 different shapes. And depending upon what character of the letter that we are using falls in, represents the shape of the square that we will be using. So, for example, again, we're using the word sigil to create this particular design. So, looking at S, which is in the middle left-hand side, it creates a box, but it's sort of a U or a horseshoe on its side. The very far left is open. That is 1 character. So that is 1 shape that was going to represent for S. Next, we're going to go to I. So I is in the upper right-hand side, and it creates a sort of an L shape. So that is going to represent the letter I. The next character that we need to get a shape for is G. So G is in the upper left-hand side and creates a reverse L. So that is our 3rd shape. The 4th shape is going to be the I again, which is that L shape on the far upper right. And finally, the L, which is also a reverse L shape from the top left, same as G. So using these 5 shapes to represent S-I-G-I-L, we can further combine these 5 shapes into smaller and smaller shapes. So we can combine the S shape and the I shape to create one character. We can use the G shape and the I shape again to create a second character. And the L is left by itself. So then we can combine these three shapes to create a single shape. And this will be our final sigil design. So you can flip these around, you can put them at an angle, you can move them around however you want to create the sigil. In the back of your mind, you know that this sigil represents a particular word or the name that you are creating this sigil for. So at this point, it has become an abstract shape, and you can change it and alter it as you so please, whatever is aesthetically pleasing or somehow resonates with you for the particular sigil that you are trying to create. The traditional way of making a circle size for your sigil is to use your 3 fingers. So the width of your 3 fingers is the circumference of the circle that you're going to make. The distance between my 3 fingers happens to be a little short of 2 inches. So I'm going to use a 2-inch diameter example. And we're going to take the radius of this 2-inch diameter. We're going to cut that diameter into quarters. So we have a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and the inch is the middle. And 1/4 inch in of the circumference of this 2-inch circle, we draw another circle. So this boundary between the circumference and the 1/4 inch radius of our circle, we can also put characters in there. We can put Hebrew characters in there. We can put Latin characters in there. We can put Greek characters. We can put Theban characters. Whatever we like to either duplicate the name or possibly give this, let's say that we had a sigil to a particular planet or to a particular god or to something. We could put the name of that in the outer circle. And then, taking our sigil that we created using one of the various methods, we can put that into the middle of it and draw out our sigil. So this completed sigil is now ready to be charged. I'm also going to be showing you how to create some very nice incense, which is a traditional incense which is dedicated to Hekate and creating sigils. And this incense is made of dragon's blood, storax, and myrrh. Now, I in particular happen to like to make this incense heavy on the dragon's blood, slightly less heavier on the storax, just a little bit of frankincense and a little bit of myrrh. Mix this all together, and this makes a good smelling incense. I would also like to share a oracle, Hecate's oracle, with you. Mark, I will teach what statue thou shalt make for me. Boughs of the wood and wormwood take, then garnish it, on it paint domestic mice. Let ornaments be fair and of great price, then frankincense, myrrh, storax, mixed with blood of mice. Then sing thou words secret and good, as thou seest shapes of mine, so on it lay. As many real mice, then take the bay, and out of the trunk thereof a case prepare to put it in. Then see thou have a care, that to the statue thou devotedly pray. Also thy debts and vows take care thou pay. If that these things that here required be, thou shalt perform, in dreams thou shalt me see. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have any further questions about this, please email me, leave me a message down below, and I will answer it to the best of my ability. So, thank you so much, and blessed be.